I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. We are going to take your mailbag questions, so fire those in. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. But we got a big stadium update we got to get to first. So report from Fox 32 that the Bears and Illinois lawmakers are, quote, close to an agreement to keep the Bears in the state of Illinois. This is via parachutes or shuts, pardon for potential pronunciation. They're reporting via Fox 32. He says the Chicago Bears and Illinois lawmakers are close to agreement on key issues that would keep the team in state and help kickstart an Arlington Heights stadium project, according to multiple sources close to the talks. He continues, the legislative sources say Governor J.B. Pritzker and legislative leaders are on board with the public funding package for infrastructure around the Arlington Heights site, as well as the so-called pilot legislation that would give the team the ability to negotiate property tax levels with the village. And the two things the Bears want are money for the infrastructure, not necessarily the stadium, the infrastructure, highways, parking, things of that nature to help people get to these games, right? And tax certainty, which, to be honest, compared to what a lot of these other teams asked for, is not crazy. The Bears have promised $2 billion toward the stadium. Most of these teams don't pay hardly anything. It's all tax money for the stadium. So that's a pretty nice little hey, we're willing to pay $2 billion from the McCaskies, other ownership, whoever. They just want those two things. They want money for the infrastructure, which is good for the state of Illinois anyway, and they want tax certainty. That's not an unreasonable ask for the Chicago Bears, especially in comparison to these other stadium projects that you see go on in professional sports all of the time. J.B. Pritzker spoke to reporters today, too, and was asked about the latest. This is part of his statement. He said, we're in constant conversation with the Bears. There's a real possibility that many of the things we put on the table are things they are willing to do to stay, sorry about the typo, in the state. I'm honestly just ready for this to be over. I will say it does feel like this could actually be over soon. The legislative session wraps up either late this month or early in March. I'm not sure on the exact date. But if this gets put to the table and it's voted on and passed, I think it's done. They'll stay in the state of Illinois. I think that's been the preference all along. And they will build in Arlington Heights, where they purchased the race car track or the horse racing track. 5 years ago now, 4 years ago, whatever the case may be. And look, you purchased that property for a reason. You tore down a historic track. Ideally, that's where this gets done. I mean, again, in a perfect world, they'd be on the lakefront forever, but that's just not going to happen. But if you could stay in the same county, stay in the state of Illinois. The Bears belong in Illinois. Their song says the pride and joy of Illinois. You're going to change that to Indiana if you move to Indiana. And I'll say this. Pritzker also said, I don't think the Indiana thing's a bluff. So I think Illinois has kind of been they're serious. They will leave if we don't answer the bell here. So it feels like we're at third base finally, and maybe rounding third, heading home on this thing. But it sounds like maybe within a month we get something official in terms of not the project starting, but it being agreed to. That dotted lines checked, and okay, we can start this project once and for all. Will the Bears stay in Illinois? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think they will. I'm up to 90+%. They're staying in Illinois, and they're going to get this thing to the finish line. If something falls apart this time, all bets are off. I would have no idea what would happen at that point, but seems like Illinois lawmakers are taking this seriously, and they're trying to get this thing to the finish line. I think the Bears are really applying pressure because Kevin Warren promised for over a year that this would get started in 2025, and that didn't happen, and clearly the Bears are pissed off by that. All right, hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll take some questions to wrap up this show. DC Viper with the recent stadium announcement. Does that give the Bears more motivation to lead the city with a Super Bowl next season? I mean, I don't know if players in the locker room, coaches view it that way. I think they're just focused on the task at hand. Now, any extra motivation is cool. I think it'd be for guys like Cole Kmet, who grew up in the greater part of Chicago, and be it'd be cool to win a Super Bowl while the Bears are still in the city, but I just think these players have so much going on. Like, I don't think they necessarily look at it that way. But, for the fans, it'd be cool, right? Like, if, let's say, they agree to a deal and the stadium's going to open in 2030 and you have 4 more seasons at Soldier Field, 26, 27, 28, 29. It'd be cool to get a Super Bowl while they're still at Soldier Field. So, we're not there yet, but that would be cool. Mike Nintendo Master, should the Bears trade Kmet or Gordon or franchise tag Byard? They're not going to tag Byard. The number's too big, and he's not getting that in the open market. I do think he'll be back on a 1 or 2 year deal. I don't know, 7 to 9 million per year, somewhere in that range. I don't think you're trading Gordon. His value's down with the injury. And I think if he's healthy, he's such a difference maker. So I think they're going to kind of try and figure out an offseason plan for him to make sure he's got the best chance possible of staying healthy. And I think Kmet, if anything, gets a team-friendly extension to lower his cap hit. I think all 3 of those players are back in Chicago next season. All right, more questions to come. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. But first, we are sponsored by Mando, whole body deodorant. And fellas, what is your go-to move when getting ready for a first date? Maybe it's a new haircut. Maybe it's getting a car wash before picking her up. You know what's a non-negotiable for first dates? Deodorant. And no one does deodorant better than Mando. Mando isn't just for your armpits, however. Their products are safe from head to toe. Whether it's stick deodorant, spray deodorant, deodorant wipes, or body wash, Mando has you covered as their products are clinically proven 72-hour odor control. Mando's products are also clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, it was a 0 out of 10. Trust me, these products work, and they are fantastic. Easy to travel with as well if you're on the move a lot. Some men mask their BO with scents. Mando men get the job done right. Don't mask it, Mando it. Available in retailers near you, or you can head to shopmando.com because for a limited time you get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code CHAT for you new customers at shopmando.com for 20% off and free shipping. That is shopmando.com. Use code CHAT for 20% off. Please support the show. Tell them we sent you. That's Bears Now by Chat Sports. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. Continue with our mailbag here. Tom, he says, do the Bears need to draft a tackle in the first 3 rounds? Need, I would say no. Could they? Absolutely. If there's someone they love, even in the first round, I wouldn't completely dismiss it. Look, a full tear, ruptured patellar tendon, it's probably the toughest injury to come back from an offensive lineman. It really is. That's why a lot of people are keeping a close eye on Rashawn Slater with the Chargers. That's an unknown. Like the Chiefs, Josh Simmons, that was a partial. That was not a full tear. So it's not apples to apples there. So if there's someone they love, for sure. Now, do they have to that early? I don't think they have to. I think they can find a stopgap veteran to compete. They could kick Joe Thuney out there. They could have Theo Benedict compete with like a middle round guy. So I think they have options, but I would not dismiss the possibility of them going left tackle in the first 3 rounds. I think that's absolutely on the table. All right, Jason Moore's thoughts on why the Bears haven't announced an assistant GM yet. Well, I think it's going to be Jeff King. I think he'll get promoted. So that's 1. And 2, these teams don't necessarily make full announcements on like non-GM front office maneuvers. Like there's a good chance he's already been promoted, right? And they'll just announce it at like the combine or something like that. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. I'm sure Ryan Poles has thought he was going to lose Ian Cunningham for years, so he's had contingencies in place, I'm sure. So, whether or not there's a press release or if it's just kind of mentioned at some point or someone reports on it, we'll find out sooner rather than later, but I'm not overly concerned about that. All right, guys, we are literally knocking on the doorstep of 157,000 subscribers here on Bears Now. We're here every day in the offseason. Multiple videos per day. We go live every Monday and Thursday. We're hitting you with the latest Bears news, rumors, trade buzz, free agency, draft, everything in between. These mailbag videos. So subscribe right now. Let's get to 157,000. Got time for a few more. LaCoura, I don't think there's a shot of signing Kenneth Walker. I 100% Seattle will tag or extend him or trade for Achane if Miami needs a reset, especially new head coach Miami. Trade away D Swift, by the way. So you're saying like Bears trade for Achane, not Seattle, I assume there. I don't know if I'd go 100% on Seattle, but I tend to agree. I think it's a high percent. Like, even if they don't extend him, they'll probably at least initially tag him because they have the cap space to do that, and then they can, try to work out an extension. If one doesn't work out, they just play him on the tag for 1 year. Maybe they could tag and trade him, but I do think he's back in Seattle next year. He was such a key part to their run in the playoffs. The Achane thing's interesting. I talked about it. He improved a ton under Eric Stootsville, who's now the Bears running backs coach. The Dolphins are in kind of a weird spot where, like, do they want to commit to Achane long term? And he is extension eligible. Like, Achane is just like a better supercharged Swift, really. I mean, he's got more home run ability for his size. He's much better after contact than Swift. He's an excellent pass catcher too. And I'm not diminishing Swift. You guys know me. I love how he played this year. I thought he had a really good year. But if you could get Achane for a reasonable trade, I would definitely at least explore that if I was the Chicago Bears. And honestly, a move like that, that's where not getting those comp picks for the Ian Cunningham thing, if they don't get them, really hurts. Because if you have that extra third-round pick, I'm way more willing to pull the trigger on one of those thirds if you have those because, as you enter this win-now window, you need draft picks. So, it's a bummer if they're not going to get those. All right, Chef Later or Latero. I'm sure I'm getting this wrong. Appreciate it though, Chef or Chief. I'm an idiot. Appreciate your question, Chief. Jalen Phillips in free agency. I just don't know what his market is. PFF projected 1 year, $15 million, which I find pretty freaking low. He had over 80 pressures this year. He's still only 27 now. He's had some injuries, but I think he at least gets a 2-year deal, and I think it's probably more like $20-something million. If 1 for 15's on the table, they should try to get that done as soon as free agency opens. But I think they could look at him. He does have an injury history, though, and I think that contract could balloon if multiple teams are interested. Like, I don't want to give a guy like that like 4 for 90 or something like that. So I think it would come down to money with a guy like him. And I do think the Bears kind of like the idea of a short-term guy, whether it's Khalil Mack, whether it's Trey Hendrickson, and then build through the draft. Draft the defensive tackle early and maybe add an edge on day 2 or early day 3. Continue to develop Austin Booker. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think they would overpay there. All right, speaking of the offseason, if you have any video ideas, fire them off in the chat or you can DM me too. And I've been bad on DMs recently the last couple of weeks. I got to catch up, but you guys know where to find me at HGramNFL. But comment section, DMs, you got any content ideas that you think would be good for the channel, maybe I'll do them. I'm always open-minded. Last one here, super chat from Elliot Brown. Knicks and May are going to progress, and we had our chance this year. What does Caleb need to progress? He just needs to be more consistent. And that's really just with the accuracy. I think his decision-making is mostly good. He's always been a good decision-maker, which is why he doesn't have a high turnover rate. One of the lower turnover rates actually ever to start a career from an interception standpoint. So just be more consistent, especially with like the easier stuff. He does the hard stuff really well. So get more consistent with the accuracy and the footwork and stuff like that, the fundamentals, and I think he could take off in year 3. All right, guys, appreciate all the questions here on this mailbag. You guys know where to find me at HGramNFL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on Facebook by searching Harrison Graham Chat Sports if you're in the app, or if you're on your browser, facebook.com/HGramNFL. That's where I am on Facebook now. So fire in more questions over there, and I would greatly appreciate the support by following me.